Hi, this is Tim. We are continuing our series of tutorials for the photo book module, and we're working on letterheads. This is letterhead number 1. As you can see, it's a pretty simple layout, just text. All right. Oh, I did sneak a little line in there too, but for the most part, we've got just text. So we're going to be learning these different aspects of InDesign as we go along, and like everything else, you're going to practice. Okay. So here we are practicing with a letterhead, which you'll be able to use as part of your education photographic career. Okay. So first thing we're going to do, go up into the File menu and go to New. Go to New Document or Command N. All right. So we get this dialog box. Okay. You can see some leftover presets, but our intent is print. All right. So we're going to work on one page, and our page size is going to be A4. All right, which is 210 by 297 millimeters. Okay, or 21 by 29.7 centimeters. Okay. We don't have to worry about columns and gutter right now. Our margins, now I like a margin of 20 millimeters because it's what I like. So I can click on the word top and enter 20, and then if I hit the tab key, it's going to enter that same number into all of them because there's this lock symbol. Or you could just click on each word and enter the number that you want. We'll look at bleed and slug later on when we have images running off a page, but we won't need to worry about that right now. So we hit OK, and it's going to give me a new document window. As I said in the intro video, the edge of the page is the black line. That's the edge of the piece of the paper. The red line outside that is the bleed line if we were going to have pictures that run off the edge of the page, and the magenta line is the margin that we've set that we can change. It's just for visual guide. Okay. Now I want to make a text box to put my text into. So I'm going to go over to the Type tool, which is the nice big T. I'm going to position my cursor just at the edge of my margins because this is what they're for. They help me line things up. Drag it down, click and drag, and when it fills that spot, I've got a text box there, which you can't see at the moment, but you can see the cursor blinking in the corner here. All right. Now, if you didn't get your text box quite right, that's okay because we have unbelievable control. Now, I can see that my text box is right here. Up at the top on my measurements palette, got a whole rake of things to look at. But I want to measure from the top left corner. See those little guide boxes? And that tells me that my X measurement, measuring horizontally across the top, is at 20. And my Y measurement, measuring vertical from the corner of the page, is at 20 as well. Now, right now the width is 170, but I can click and drag to change it. So you can always vary these things. So you can draw things by hand, but then we go up into the measurements palette to make sure that they are exactly what we want. Okay. Now if I click off of that, you can't see it. So I'm going to go down here to the bottom of my tools palette, and I'm going to change the view to preview. Sorry. I thought I was on preview. Preview takes away all the lines. Okay, so we can see what the page is going to look like when it's printed. And sorry, we want to be on normal view, like I was trying to say in the first place. Okay, now if I click on my type tool again, I can click inside the box and get my cursor. Let me zoom in here a little bit so we can see that better. Okay. Now, if I can remember this, we're going to type name and address because you got to have your contact name and address, and you want that top front center. So this is Joe, photographer, and I work at 111 Any Street. Let's make it Temple Bar, Dublin, 2, Ireland. Okay, so what I was doing this, I want to make this distinctive. So So I'm going to highlight all that text, and I don't want to use this Minion Pro font. I want to use Helvetica. Okay, so I can go up in there and I can type the name that I want to use, or you can hit the list and scroll up and down through there. Okay, now I want to change the proportion of these elements, and so I'm going to leave my name at 12 point. Here's the size of the type, so we can click and increase a little bit at a time. But I'm going to just increase, instead of changing the size, I'm just going to make it bold. And 12 point, while it looks fine on screen, is actually quite big when it's printed on paper. So I'm going to reduce the size of my address to 10 point. So there's a difference in proportion between my address and my name. My name is going to be the dominant thing on that page. All right. So now I want to have that aligned in the center of the page rather than aligned on the left-hand edge. So this contextual menu across the top is going to change, and you'll see these little icons up here tell us that we can change the alignment. So I can pop it over to the right, but in this case I want to pop it to the center. All right. So my name and address is sitting right there, but then I want to add in my email address, and I'm just going to type an E, and that's joephoto at, if I can type. We need a mobile number too, don't we? And that'll be, let's put the international code, and we'll put parentheses around that, and that'll be okay. And you always want to have something like your social media accounts, don't you? So we'll do a Facebook, and that'll be something like that. All right. So I have the essential elements. My name is given dominance at the top of the page. It's centered. It's made bold to stand out for the other type. Address, physical address that they can contact me, and electronic communications options. All right. So if we go and we double click on the hand tool, that'll take us back to the full page view. All right. I can click on my preview mode. So, okay, so that's how it's going to sit on that blank white piece of paper that we get, and then we can make our correspondence run below that. Okay, that's not awful. Pretty simple, but it's not horrible. Okay. Oops. Let's go back into our normal view. Now, rather than typing all that stuff and taking all day, let's just select these bits that I typed before, copy those. Now, if I paste those in there, they'll automatically jump to the way I had them aligned before, but if I had them centered, that would be pretty horrific. You cannot ever have a letter like that. All right? The actual correspondence elements need to be aligned to the left. That is the convention, but the main thing is you want them to be readable very easily, and so that's the most important bit. Okay, so we're going to have those aligned left. I'm going to bring those down a little bit on the page just because I like them to sit down a little bit farther. I can go into preview mode and say, well, that's okay. Now, if you'll notice, on my fancy one over here, I put that line in between the contact details, the address, and the electronic communications. Okay, so do we like to have those address stacked? Like to have those things there? I can use my magnifying glass to zoom in on those areas. Okay, and I can take my line tool here, which is about the sixth one down. Okay, now for my line, I go back up to the contextual menu and I set a size for it. Let's make it 1 point. Okay, black. and I'm going to position it about on the edge of my E. I'm going to hold down the Shift key because that helps me keep it straight, and draw it about the length of that line there. Okay. Now, as I said, we can draw things visually, but then we want to check the measurements to make sure that everything lines up properly. Otherwise, they'll get a little bit messy. Okay. So my line is highlighted by taking my arrow tool and clicking on it, and you can see that the handles appear, so I know that that's been selected. If I select the text box, you can see the handles appear on that. All right. Now I want to measure the center of that line because it should be centered on the page, and I know that an A4 page is 210 millimeters wide. So the center dot should be at 105. So it doesn't just look centered, it's exactly centered. We'll back up. If I click off of it, then I can take that off there. We could say, ah, okay, there you go. So do you like it better with the address stacked like that, or do you like it better with the address placed on one line and with the line, the rule, the graphic line running underneath it? Yeah, you figure out what you want to do. Hey, as always, save that document. This is Joe Photo 01 test, and I'm putting it in my Joe Photo Letterhead folder. Okay, we'll have a look at that and see what we think about it. All right, come back for Letterhead number 2 in a few minutes.